All right, everybody. Welcome back into an episode of Tavern Takes. I am Cole here by myself, talking some college football. Going to give you a little week one preview. Going to start off by talking a little Kansas State, Iowa State um, from last weekend over in Ireland. But before we get started, look for a NFL preview pod coming this weekend for week one, as Josh's wedding is next weekend, so it's going to come out a little earlier. I may or may not be part of it, depending on if my second child decides to make his appearance into this world. But look for that to come out probably Sunday, maybe Monday. So let's get right into it. Kansas State, Iowa State was a slot fest in the first half. And I'd expect nothing less over in Ireland. I mean, they couldn't even get the lines properly painted on the field. So that was a really tough look for the Aer Lingus game over in Ireland. But nonetheless, the end of the third, into the fourth quarter, they kind of got their footing about them. Rocco Becht and Avery Johnson are two quarterbacks that you will need to keep an eye on in the Big 12. Avery Johnson has unlimited talent, and Rocco Becht is more your hard hat lunch pail quarterback, but still really gets the job done. Iowa State eking out that game in the 12-team playoff format doesn't end Kansas State's season like in years past. You lose a game early, you pretty much can't lose the rest of the year. But I think the Big 12 is going to be wide open this year. So I don't, as much as that game hurt and stings for Kansas State, definitely doesn't end their season. Avery Johnson, hopefully they can get Dylan Edwards, I believe, back. He got hurt in the first play that he was on the field on a punt return. He is their do-it-all running back, and losing him right off the bat kind of set Kansas State back. That's really all I have to touch on week 0 on. I mean, Kansas looked good. UNLV in the Dan Mullen era kind of got off to a slow start, but I don't think that's much worth our time right now. Let's get right into week 1. So we're going to go to the Thursday games that I want to touch on. 4:30, I believe it's 4:30 Central Time on Thursday. Getting an early kickoff for you college football lovers. Boise State takes on South Florida. And Boise State is the presumed team that is going to get the group of 5 bid into the playoff. Now, obviously, that's presumed. They lose Ashton Genty, but Maddox Madsen's a pretty good quarterback. South Florida has Byron Brown, who I don't know if it'll be this year, but he's going to be a quarterback that by the time he goes pro, a lot of teams convince themselves on. He's kind of got a lot of Jalen Milroe to him, honestly. Like, it's raw potential, but the athletic measurables are insane. He's quick, he's big, he's strong. Would not be surprised if he has a good year this year that you could see him in the top 2 to 3 rounds in some mock drafts if he doesn't decide to come back or go to a bigger university other than South Florida next year. The big thing to watch in this game is the weather, ironically. Boise State went to Georgia Southern last year to open the year, and their defense kind of got walked all over. The humidity and the heat took a number on Boise State's defense, and now they got to go to Southern Florida. So just watch out for that. It would not surprise me at all if South Florida could find a way to win this game. They have a sneaky good fan base that'll pack the place. Boise State's a 6-point favorite. If I had a pick, I lean South Florida plus the points, not necessarily outright, but I think South Florida finds a way to keep that close. The next game on Thursday is, I'm going to be real quick on this one. Honestly, the only reason I brought it up is because they played to end the year last year and there was a massive brawl. It's Eastern Carolina versus NC State. The NC State's favored by 14. There's the only real thing I have to say is this Dave Doran's time to be done at NC State? He's your consistent. Think of Wisconsin in the ACC minus the last 2 years. Just your consistent 8 to 9 win team. And he's kind of fallen off these last couple of years. So we'll see what he can do with that. His seat might get hot if they somehow manage to lose this game. I don't think they will. I lean NC State plus the points. Literally the only reason I brought it up was because of the brawl last year. So, and actually the over-under in this game is 61.5. And one of my best bets this week is the under in that game. Don't really see how this game goes over. NC State bringing back a true freshman quarterback that got some run last year but wasn't very good. And ECU's just overall not a very good team. So I like the under there. The next one I'm going to take a little more time on than any other podcast will. It is Miami of Ohio versus Wisconsin. Now, this will be my little Wisconsin primer to start the year. Wisconsin has a new offensive coordinator in Jeff Grimes. The Phil Longo experiment did not work. Luke Fickell has decided to, bring someone in new. Grimes is going to be your little more traditional Wisconsin stuff. They're going to be more focused on the run game. You'll see our quarterback under center, Billy Edwards Jr., transfer from Maryland. I like the hire. We'll see what it yields this year. Our schedule is insanely tough. But in terms of this game, Miami, Ohio has Daquan Finn, who tore it up at Toledo 2 years ago, transferred to Baylor, got hurt, and then lost the job by the time he came back. But my point being is that he is definitely going to give our defense fits. He's very mobile. His passing is but if we can't stop the run like we couldn't last year, it's going to be a problem. Some Wisconsin names to look out for on offense are Billy Edwards Jr. Like I said, transfer quarterback from Maryland. I think he's the right guy to come in and steady the ship. Hopefully he can stay healthy. He's had some health problems. Kekahuna was a good wide receiver for us last year. He'll take over for Will Pauling, who transferred to Notre Dame. Vinny Anthony is a speed demon on the outside. If you see Wisconsin completing long passes, it's more than likely to Vinny Anthony. Our backfield is what I really want to talk about. Dylan Jones and Darian Dupree are two Sunday players. They are different, though. Dylan Jones is a little more of your bruiser. He still has the breakaway speed, but runs between the tackles really well. I'm not going to throw the Jonathan Taylor comparison out there, but he's got a lot of talent. And Darian Dupree is kind of your receiving back a la James White. I look for both of those guys to have a very big impact in this offense this year. Like I said, I would say both those guys play on Sunday. I don't think it'll be this year, but next year after they go pro, they have the talent. On defense, Christian Allegro and Tackett Curtis are your vintage inside linebackers that I think a lot of Wisconsin fans have been missing since Zach Bond and Leo Chanel and those type of guys. Wisconsin's going to be really solid at inside linebacker this year. And the back end is going to be steady between Preston Zachman and Austin Brown. Those are 3 to 4 year guys coming back on defense this year. Zachman and Brown both had good years last year. The back end is my least concern on our defense this year. And then one other name to look for on offense is T.Y. Hilton's son, Eugene Hilton, who made the 2 deep as a true freshman. Apparently, he's been making plays all at camp, and it's going to be impossible to keep him off the field. So when you see that name, that is T.Y.'s son, and hopefully he can produce for us. That over under is 7, or that over under. I'm sorry, not over under. That spread is Wisconsin minus 17.5. I'm not touching that with a 10-foot pole, but the over under is 39.5. And if Wisconsin's going to win this game, there's going to be points had because I think Finn's going to score. I think Miami of Ohio is going to score some. So I really, really like the over in that game. That's a really low total. We'll move on to Nebraska versus Cincinnati. Nebraska has second-year quarterback Dylan Raiola, son of Donovan Raiola, highly touted 5-star. They bring over Dana Holgorsen, who finished the year as their offensive coordinator and is a journeyman head coach and a damn good offensive mind. They have some questions on defense. Cincinnati, their head coach, Scott Satterfield, is on the hot seat. He needs to have a winning season this season or he will no longer have a job. Brendan Sorsby is a plus quarterback, if not good quarterback. And their defense needs to get a lot better. So it'll be kind of interesting to see how that game plays out. Nebraska is minus 6.5. And that game is being played at Arrowhead, a la the Kelsey Bowl, because the Kelseys went to Cincinnati. And Nebraska has Dylan Raiola, who likes to cosplay as Patrick Mahomes. If I had to pick that game, I would lean Nebraska minus 6.5. I think they're going to kind of be an offensive juggernaut. We'll move on to Friday. We got Auburn versus Baylor. Auburn has 3 quarterbacks. Jackson Arnold, Deuce McKnight, and Ashton Daniels. Ashton Daniels started at Stanford last year. He's really mobile. Hugh Freeze kind of shocked everybody this week. Hugh Freeze is Auburn's coach and came out and said that all 3 are going to play, which is kind of wild. The presumption is that Jackson Arnold will take that job. He's a transfer from Oklahoma, former 5-star. They spent a crap ton of money in the transfer portal at skill positions. They have pro athletes, or they have NFL guys all over their defense, but can they put it together? Baylor, Dave Aranda was a dead man walking halfway through the season last year, and then they proceeded to win 6 of their last 7 games. He gets to keep his job. I like Aranda, got a soft spot for him. He was a DC at Wisconsin, and they have a really good quarterback in Sawyer Robertson. And they have Sawyer Robertson he's one of those guys where you might be looking at mock drafts going in the next year, and a lot of you who don't follow college football are like, oh, who the hell is this guy? He could be a top 15 quarterback in the NCAA this year. He's that good. He's that talented. We'll see what Aranda can do if he can capitalize on winning 6 or 7 last year. This game is a complete crapshoot. It's at Baylor. I have no idea where to go. Auburn's a 2.5-point favorite. I lean taking Baylor plus 2.5. If you're going to bet it, I'd probably just bet it outright. That's probably where your money's at. Better spent. But again, I'm not so sure. I'm not really sure on that game at all. Like I said, if Jackson Arnold is the starter, I feel a lot more confident in Auburn. But the fact that they're rolling 3 of them out there tells me Arnold didn't really earn the job. So I lean Baylor plus 2.5. Also on Friday night, we have Georgia Tech at Colorado. For those of you who didn't listen to my ACC, the only kind of prediction pod I did for college football, I'm very high on Georgia Tech. Jamal Haynes and Haynes King. You're hard-pressed to find a better running backfield in the country. Now, Haynes King is their quarterback. He needs to be a better passer, but the ceiling for Georgia Tech is like 10-2 and a playoff berth. I think they can make noise in the ACC. Brent Key's a hell of a coach. I would run through a brick wall for that guy. He's a really good motivator. Their defense just needs to be better. Colorado replaces Shadur Sanders and Travis Hunter. Caton Hauser, the Liberty quarterback, is taking over. If he struggles, you'll see 5-star Julian Lewis, who was a former USC commit and flipped to Colorado. With everything that's going on with Dion and beating the bladder cancer, which I wish all the best health to him and everything. The thing that doesn't make sense to me in this game is there's a lot of unknown with Colorado, and this spread is only 4. Now, given the game's in Boulder, but something smells rotten. Smells like Vegas knows something about Colorado. I was heavy Georgia Tech in this game, and now I'm starting to question it a little bit, but I'm going to lean with my initial take, and that is Georgia Tech -4. Also, I like the over in this game. It's 52.5. I think points are going to be scored galore. If there's anything I know about Colorado, it's that defense is sharp and soft, and Georgia Tech's going to run the piss out of the ball. If they can't stop it, they're going to score and score and score. I think Colorado's offense provides enough to that over where I think it's a pretty damn good bet. So I really like the over 52.5 there. Next, we're going to go into Saturday, and I'm going to lead Saturday off with free money for you guys. Now, this is my upset parlay special of the week. I'm going to try to give one each week. Hard to do in week 1, but a lot of the college football podcasts that I listen to really like this play, and you bet $20, you win $320. It is Southern Miss at home against Mississippi State. Southern Miss was 2-10 last year, but Charles Huff, Marshall's coach, took the Southern Miss job and brought about half to 3/4 of the roster with him, and that Marshall team won the Sun Belt last year. So that is plus 360. And then Toledo against Kentucky. Kentucky's a dumpster fire this year. They're starting Zach Calzada at quarterback, who has been in college football since what I can only assume is the Vietnam War. That game is plus 270. I really like that parlay. I think it's a chance for y'all to make some money or crap on me if it doesn't hit. So let's get into the Saturday games. First, we'll do Syracuse versus Tennessee. I don't have much on this game other than Syracuse starts Notre Dame backup quarterback Steve Angeli this year, and they have a whole lot of roster turnover. So a lot of unknown with Syracuse. And Tennessee moves on from the Nico Amaliava era, now quarterbacking UCLA. With Joey Aguilar, App State's quarterback. Joey Aguilar, very turnover prone, but Josh Heupel, Tennessee's coach, tends to be an offensive wizard. So we'll see what goes on with that game. Tennessee is a 14-point favorite, and the over-under is 51.5. While Tennessee games usually have points, I lean the under here as you have 2 new quarterbacks starting in this game. 51.5 points is a lot. Like I said, I just tend to lean the under with 2 new quarterbacks starting in this game and a lot of new on both of these teams. Next game, first of the big games on Saturday, and that's Texas-Ohio State. You NFL fans that are tuning into this are going to get to know these names real quick because you're going to want your teams drafting them in the draft. First, we got Texas with Arch Manning. I don't know that Arch goes pro. Sounds like he's going to come back next year. But, I mean, that's another Manning in a line of Mannings. That's Cooper's son. Arch is the prodigy. We'll see what he can come in and do. He had some experience last year. I liked what I saw. We'll kind of see what Arch can do. But Arch is going to be led by that defense in Anthony Hill and Colin Simmons. Know those 2 names? Those guys are both first-round picks and playing on Sunday. They're going to lean on that run game in C.J. Baxter, and Ryan Wingo is like the 3rd or 4th name in the 27 receiver class that you need to know about, which is Ryan Williams from Alabama and Jeremiah Smith from Ohio State, who I'll get to in a minute. Texas has a new offensive line, but that defense is going to be arguably the best defense in the country outside of Clemson. On the Ohio State side, they're bringing a new quarterback, 5-star Julian Sayin. From what I've heard and seen on Twitter, a lot of what people are saying is that Julian Sayin looks really good. He's going to have weapons galore and Carnell Tate, which is another name you're going to want to get to know because Jeremiah Smith is going to get the headlines, rightfully so, as he would probably be wide receiver 1 on about 28 NFL teams right now. But look out for Carnell Tate. He's very good. Could be kind of like an Emeka Ibuka who slides under the radar underneath the big names, but you could see in the first round of a draft. Caleb Downs in the secondary. He's the best safety in the country. He'll play special teams. They might sneak him in on offense. Look for him to look for Ohio State to kind of nudge him to get an invitation to New York for the Heisman later this year. They have a new O-line. A lot of those guys stepped in last year with injuries, but the defense is going to be good just like Texas. This is a lot of good on good in this game. I don't know what to expect. I personally lean Texas. Ohio State is a 2.5-point favorite. I lean Texas plus the points, but this all comes down to Arch and Julian Sayin. Because if Julian Sayin can step in and simply manage the game, Ohio State wins this game. Sayin has a couple of bumps in his first start. I think Texas manages to pull it out. The next one is Bama, Florida State. I mean, this is technically a major game. Bama is 13.5-point favorites at Florida State. Florida State was a dumpster fire last year with DJ Uiagalelei and whoever the hell else they trotted out there. I don't remember. Brock Glenn, I think. They bring in Thomas Castellanos, who was Boston College's quarterback last year. Dude is athletic as hell. Can make you miss in the open field. Really good runner. Can he make throws against that Alabama defense? Alabama's going to have a hell of a defense. Ty Simpson is also a new quarterback at Alabama. Ty Simpson has been in that system for 3-4 years now, and although it is just the second year under the new head coach, Ty Simpson's kind of a journeyman, one of those waited his turn to get a chance. So I think he's going to be okay. He has talent galore. Ryan Williams, like I said, him and Jeremiah Smith are going to be 2 of the top 5 picks in the NFL draft, not next year, but the year after when they can come out. They're studs. They'd be starting on your favorite NFL team if you don't play for Cincinnati or Minnesota. I tend to lean Bama minus 13.5 just because Florida State was 2-10 last year in a complete dumpster fire. We'll see if Mike Norvell can change the graces on that and kind of put them in better position to be a little more successful this year. The last of the big games is LSU versus Clemson on Saturday night. This game's got it all. You got 2 Heisman competitors at quarterback and Garrett Nussmeier for LSU and Cade Klubnik for Clemson. Klubnik has TJ Moore and Brian Wesco outside. Those are 2 real good receivers. Look for them to make a jump this year. Clemson has probably first-round draft picks on all 3 levels of their defense. They couldn't stop the run last year, so that's kind of a big deal. We'll see if they've improved upon that this year. On the LSU side, Nussmeier is going to be throwing to Aaron Anderson, Nico Anderson, and Berrient. Nico Anderson is a transfer from OU, and Berrien's a transfer from Kentucky. Their defense needs to take a step forward. Both these coaches actually tend to struggle in week 1 games. LSU loses to Georgia, and back-to-back years, And LSU has not won an opening game under Brian Kelly in the last 3 years. So something's got to give there. I actually like the upset in LSU here. I'm high on LSU this year. I really like Garrett Nussmeier. He's got some issues with his knee, but it's nothing he hasn't dealt with. Apparently, this has been a since high school injury. I like his weapons. I think the defense takes a step forward, and I think they give Clemson hell in the Battle of Death Valley. Sunday, we have Virginia Tech at South Carolina. South Carolina has Lenora Sellers and Dylan Stewart, who are arguably two of the top 15 players in college football. Sellers might be your number one draft pick by the end of this year, in the sole fact that his measurables are good. He can run. If he can put the throwing together, that's what matters for Sellers this year. They do lose a lot on offense and defense. They have an NFL talent in Nick Harbor out wide, but Nick Harbor's been pretty inconsistent. So we'll see what South Carolina can do. Virginia Tech brings back Kyron Drones, a fully healthy Kyron Drones, which is a big deal. He's another one of those great measurables, needs to learn how to throw the ball. We'll see what he can do if he stays healthy. Brent Key, their head coach, is on the hot seat. He kind of needs a good year this year. This is another sneaky, weird line in that South Carolina is only favored by 7.5. It's another one of those, what does Vegas know that I don't? So we'll see what happens there. I lean South Carolina minus 7.5 as one of my best bets as well. The last game on Monday night of the weekend is Notre Dame versus Miami. Shout out Will. We'll start with Miami. They haven't sold this game out, which isn't shocking because there is not a bigger group of Fairweather fans than the University of Miami fans. Having your stadium off campus also never helps, but we'll see. I assume that place will be somewhat packed, but it might be 40% Notre Dame fans. Carson Beck is their starting quarterback, transfer from Georgia. The best of Carson Beck is really good when he's healthy. When he's dinged up a little bit, it's So it's what Carson Beck are we going to get? They have a top 5 defensive line and a top 5 offensive line in Miami has. Like, their trenches are insane. Mario Cristobal is a great recruiting coach, especially in the trenches. Their defense needs to take a step up under Corey Heatherman, their new defensive coordinator, who was formerly Minnesota's defensive coordinator. Did very well there. I kind of trust him to turn that defense around, but can in-game Mario Cristobal not piss it away? That's your question. I don't trust Mario Cristobal as an in-game coach as far as I can throw that man, which is not far at all. So we'll see what Miami yields this year. The best of Miami is a playoff team. The worst of Miami is probably 8-4. Notre Dame, on the other hand, starts at quarterback C.J. Carr, who is the grandson of Michigan's coach for a very long time, Lloyd Carr. I don't have much to say on offense with them other than we'll see what C.J. Carr can do in what I expect to be somewhat of a hostile environment in Miami on Monday night. They did get Will Pauling, who was the Badgers' number 1 go-to receiver last year. They have a lot of defensive talent, especially Riley Mills and Benjamin Morrison. Benjamin Morrison is Kyle Hamilton light. I will drive that into your heads. By the end of the year, this dude's a top 10 pick. Like, that's the talent he has. So that's all I got this week. Feel free to, if you listen to this, comment on it. Subscribe if you can. And let me know. Let me know if I'm wrong. I'm going to come on here and give kudos to myself if I'm right. And the last thing I want you to remember, Southern Miss plus 360, Toledo plus 270. Parlay that shit. Take yourself home an extra $300 this Labor Day weekend. Thank you.